Welcome to Gut Punch, the podcast that explores life-changing moments. Hosted by Kathryn Lancioni, a seasoned educator with personal insights into resilience. Kathryn shares how life can change in an instant, shaping our path forward. Each episode features inspiring guests who face their own gut punch moments. Guests share their journeys through loss, upheaval, and triumph. What to expect: honest conversations, lessons in resilience, inspiration for growth. Join Kathryn as she highlights courage and perseverance in every story. Gut Punch is a reminder that there is always a path forward. Be part of the conversation. Register now to join Kathryn for today's journey.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathryn Lancioni, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Gut Punch. Today, I am just thrilled to be joined by one of my most favorite recent people that I've met in life, and that's Bree here. Bree is an amazing woman, mom, wife, working professional, and survivor of more gut punches than anyone should have to. Today, we're going to touch on one of those and talk about how it impacted her, how it has really strengthened her in many ways. And so let's get right into it. Bree, welcome to Gut Punch.
Thank you, Kathryn. I'm so honored to be here and to share this space with you.
I appreciate you joining. Before we get into the Gut Punch, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your background and kind of your professional career?
Yeah, I would love to. My background is, I have been a gymnast, started gymnastics when I was 5 years old, and that kind of incorporated my entire childhood. Ended up getting a full ride scholarship to the University of Arizona for gymnastics, which is where I met my husband, who was playing baseball at the University of Arizona at the time. And we have been married for almost 15 years, and we have 3 kiddos that we have raised in the life of professional baseball craziness. So with that, my background is I know how to travel light. We've lived in, I think like 27 different places in our 15 years of marriage. And it has been a journey. Because of his career, I found a career working in the nonprofit space. And that was amazing because I've been able to work remote full time. So just met wherever he was located, whatever team, I was also able to still continue working and raising up the kids. And yeah, that's kind of the highlight overview of my story.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that. So Let's get right into it. Why don't you talk to us about what the gut punch was, when you experienced it? Let's start from there.
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 parts to this story, which is a little bit interesting. I would say the gut punch came as a 33-year-old woman finding out with the rest of the world that Dr. Larry Nassar, who you might recall, he was all over sports news, ESPN news, the sister survivors were coming out on the scene. I found out at 33 years old that I was a part of that sister survivor crew, and really realized that one person in my life that was kind of this beacon of hope through a very traumatic and abusive upbringing in the sport of gymnastics, that he actually had been abusing me and hurting me since the time that I was 9. So my very first appointment with him was when I was 9 years old. I had a high hamstring pull tear situation. And I remember one of the other gym moms telling my mother, have to call Larry. He's the best. He's the doctor for the U.S. Olympic team, and he's in Lansing. He's so close. Get Bree in. And so I went in really physically suffering.
Right.
And he was kind of the last resort of, okay, he's going to get me better so I can get training again. And having no idea that on that day I would have the first experience of sexual abuse, and maintained a very close relationship with him, close friendship really, throughout the rest of my childhood, into my high school, college years, into adulthood. He was invited to my wedding. We were friends. He was a trusted person in my life. And so the gut punch didn't happen at 9 because I thought that what was happening was medically necessary, and believed that all through my life. The gut punch happened at 33 when I could hardly get myself up off the floor because everything that I knew to be true and my own gut intuition about my own body and what I believed, everything just came crashing down.
What was it shock? Was it disbelief? Like, was it anger? What was that?
I think initially I was mad.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Because I was coming from a place of advocacy for him. He, at that point, had been in jail for 2 years. I thought building a case that would show his innocence. And he had no one that could come and defend him. No other doctors came. No other people were in defense of him. And I still thought, like, I held on to that belief that my situation was different. But when woman after woman or young girl after young girl kept coming up to the stand and repeating things that were the exact same thing that he had done to me, opening up medical books and showing different access of the human bodies, he made it very believable to both me and my parents that were in the room with me. Like, I am a doctor. This is okay. I've done this hundreds of times. This is going to get her better.
When I first heard the story, I was speechless, and I'm still speechless because it was so pervasive in the gymnast community, and the fact that you guys didn't know until you were 13 years old. I mean, that's it's crazy. So that was a couple of years ago, obviously.
Yep.
How has it impacted you? Do you think? How has it changed you? Because to me, it's like one of the people that you trust most in the world. Almost like a parent, I would think. Like, suddenly realize everything he did hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, looking back, how have you processed it or come to grips with it? That whole change?
For the first year, I just was radically seeking all forms of therapy. I was like, I need to learn how to have a gut intuition that I can trust again. I would say it was a huge struggle in my marriage with my husband, just like not even just intimacy, but just all of it, just him being a male authority figure in my life and being like, I don't even know who I can trust at this point. It was such a deep-seated act of betrayal that for probably the first year, I didn't know that I could ever recover from it. But at that point in time, I had 2 kids and a husband, and his career wasn't slowing down. Like, I had to figure out a way to cope and to move forward. And I would say it came through finding community, talking to old teammates, other sister survivors that could say, like, we could process together. Because if you're outside of the sphere of gymnastics and really in that circle, you can't fully understand what it was like. You just can't.
Yeah.
But there was a fire ignited within me to create change for the next generation of girls coming through, and a level of like really trying to figure out how to heal for my childhood teammates who are now women and raising families as well. And honestly, it sounds crazy, but it came through learning how to forgive him. And what that did was it just took the load off of me having to be the one to think of the right act of justice or the right act of punishment. It was like, I don't even want to own that. I need to forgive so he doesn't have a place in my mind and in my heart anymore. I need to release him fully.
Yes.
And so that was huge.
How long did it take you that's huge that you've been able to do that. How long did that take for you to get to that point?
It's a choice that I wake up with every day, truthfully. Okay. I think it was probably, 2 solid years of doing the work, the hard work. And I did not share this part of my story when we were in New York together when I met you. But at the same time that the Larry case was ending, the coach that I had been at his gym for my entire gymnastics career, he had been charged with 40 counts of, I believe it's 40 child trafficking and abuse charges of his own. Oh, and God. So you're also trying to figure out the lawsuit with that and advocating for your story for that. And when he was supposed to turn himself into jail, he committed suicide on the way to the jail. And so it was like almost the second gut punch that was like, there can be no opportunity to go and speak in court. There can be no retribution. Like he just took his own life, and with it, the opportunity for anyone to confront him.
to heal in ways.
To heal. Yeah. And so I think I've, throughout a lot of challenging times in my life, have just had this repeated mantra, I guess, inside of me that's like, what I'm walking through is not just to hurt me, but it's to help someone else. Like, who do I need to help through their pain? And just having like eyes open and a heart open to who is that person? Because I'm not going through this for nothing.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing is like, I always say like my story, your story. It's like you go through something like this and there are two paths. One is you curl up in a ball and cry and close the door on it after you get through it.
Yep.
The other is to try to use it in a way that helps other people. That doesn't, you don't need pity, right? Like you've gotten through it. But it's like, okay, I've been through this absolutely horrible thing that has changed me forever. So how can I help other people, whether they're navigating something similar, hopefully not, or whether they're navigating something totally different. And, it's a challenge. And so I guess, so if I were you, I would have been so angry. I would have been so angry on both counts. Back to Nassar for a second. Did it help you heal and help you forgive him by seeing the trial and seeing what he went through? Was that additive for you?
The trial was revealing for me. The aftermath of the trial and being like, okay, justice was served. He's serving 2 life sentences. He is exactly where he should be. And I think I will just forever be indebted to Judge Rosemary Aquilina because she allowed women, and however many, I think it was like literally 100 women came in and gave their victim impact statement, and she made him sit there through every single one. And she said, whoever wants to come, they are going to be given a space to share. And so for me, when I, a few months later, sat and had to write my own impact statement and send it, it was like the first step of being like, okay, this is my story, but it's only my story up to this point. And what really matters is what I do from here on out. And so I found community and I sought help from a professional that could just help me.
Was it hard to ask for help?
No, I was in a place where I was like, I knew that being broken forever wasn't an option. Like it was not a choice. It was like, I need help and I know I can't get myself out of this.
Yes. Well, and as a mother, when you have kids who look to, I mean, I learned that very, very early on in motherhood was that little kids, young children, look for emotional guidance from their parents, right? And it's one I spend the most time with. And I know in my case, I was teaching, but my husband was working, so I was home a lot more. And I knew that I needed to maintain emotional balance, shall we say. That's where the kids got the direction from. And I hadn't even at that point gone through anything crazy like you did. It's hard. It is hard. And I can only get back to the whole relationship with Nassar. I can only imagine that must have made you question, I would think, other relationships that you had.
Every relationship. And I think that's why I got so crazy for the first year, is because I literally went through every relationship that I had with anyone in my life. And I tried to backtrack and go through it with a fine-tooth comb of like, all right, in this situation, was there anything weird? Is there anything that like I felt uncomfortable about, but I didn't say anything because you're not supposed to say anything? And you have to understand a little bit about the dynamics of being a gymnast, is that if something feels weird, if something feels off, if something hurts, if you're angry, if you're sad, you don't mumble a word, like at all. So perhaps there was a few times that I was like, this seems a little off to be doing this when I have an ankle issue, but you never questioned. It wasn't allowed.
Was that just the unspoken rule? Was that just kind of how it was?
It was just, we were preconditioned to not question our male authority figure in any capacity. Or if you did, you would be belittled, berated, tossed against the wall, paid publicly. There was like a consequence that was more detrimental than anything of like expressing the pain wasn't worth it. Basically, it was like, no, I'm just going to bury this, because what the consequence for telling him this is not that I get to get out of practice or that I get to not do more routines. It's that I'm going to have to step on a scale in front of my entire team. Like,
yes. And I do know from other people that have been in the profession, like it's the way, and it's like ice skating. It's like the weight is, and the band is so important. and just so hard. Do you think so? So looking back on that experience and after the Nassar thing, has it gotten better for other gymnasts, for female gymnasts?
I think that Simone Biles 2 Olympics ago saying, I cannot do this, I cannot compete in this Olympics because spatially my mental ability to know where I am at in the air is gone. And I don't want to take the chance of ending up hurt, paralyzed, dead. I mean, she is, I could never do the skills that she did. She is just levels
Amazing.
and levels above anyone else. Amazing. Exactly. But her being like the pinnacle of her career and for being on such, I mean, you're on a huge platform where millions of people are watching, and her saying enough is enough, I think propelled gymnastics in a direction that it really needs to go.
That's awesome. Do you think male gymnasts face the same pressures that females do?
Hold on, you
terms
kind
of
of cut out for a second there.
Do you feel like male gymnasts face the same challenges that female gymnasts do when it comes to, just deal with the pain, just deal with the issues?
No, I don't know. I just know that females innately are more emotional. We feel more things. We internalize more things. I don't know. I don't want to discredit or discount.
I know. I was just curious.
Male gymnasts but a lot of male gymnasts are coached by male coaches, and a lot of female gymnasts are coached by male coaches. And so I think there also is there's a separation there. Simone Biles, if you notice, had a female head coach. That didn't happen when I did gymnastics. It was always male coaches because they had to spot you. They had to be stronger. They had to be,
So
bigger.
Interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting. And I think to your point of Simone Biles, when you have someone who probably will be considered the GOAT of the sport to come out and say, I can't do this. That's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know mental health and mental health challenges is something that is becoming more at the forefront of athletics.
Yes.
At college level, mental health is a huge component in D1 sports these days, as it should be.
Yes.
And I think, again, to your point, Simone Biles, Michael Phelps, name your athletes that have come out in the past decade and talked about mental health issues. It's super important because because you're, as an athlete, as a gymnast, you're very often the only person with thousands of people watching you, and you're expected to do it altogether.
Yeah.
And the challenges.
You peak at age 15 or 16. It's not like you had this lifetime of lessons and growth. It's you're a baby still, really, a mental toddler trying to handle all of this craziness, But I have not personally been in a gymnastics facility for probably close to 10 years.
Wow.
But from what I hear, things are changing for the better.
That's great. One last question for you. So, you, as you said, spent age 9 on working with Nassar, probably 3 on doing gymnastics. It's all you knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your career ends as a gymnast, and you got to decide where do you redirect the energy. And there's 2 challenges there. One is that, from my perspective, one is that you've always done the same thing. You've always been given a schedule, you've traveled, you get into this routine of being in the gym all the time, and really everything else I would think is almost secondary within reason. That ends, right? And then because your singular focus has been one sport, there's all this other stuff that you could do, but you don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. How would you decide how to pivot? I can't say hanging up the shoes because you don't really wear shoes in gymnastics, but by getting rid of the chalk off your hands. Yep. How did you decide that pivot?
I like to use the expression you just follow the momentum and you follow the miracles. And Daniel and I were really in a miracle season. He had just been drafted and was playing phenomenally well in the minor leagues. I think he played a total of 16 games in the minor leagues before his major league debut.
Wow.
And so
there you are. We lost you in a sec. So just take it back from he had played 16 games in the minor leagues and then.
Okay, yeah. So he had played 16 games in the minor league before his first major league appearance. And so we just were riding that wave. But it gave me a cushion of time. I didn't have to immediately find my career, my next thing. So I was really lucky. I got to be what do I like to do? And I've always loved gathering people and having parties and events. And so that's what I did. I just found reasons and excuses to get people together. And that became my new thing.
So you figured out what you loved.
Yes.
And over time, of course. And because you had the gift of time. and
Yes.
you turned it into a career.
Yeah, that's kind of how it began. And, a few years into our marriage, we had our first child. So that put me into a whole different scope of motherhood. But I was never bored by any means. But I was like, what? Not many people in their 20s get the choice of like, what do I love to do? And let's see if I can make something out of that. But that's really what I did. My degree, funny enough, is in elementary education. There was a few times, like when Daniel was playing with the Tigers, that I would go and be like a substitute teacher at a school for a few weeks. I was like, I just want to be with kids and like, just finding ways to get integrated into the community and help people where I could. And I've always been passionate about, paying it forward and helping those in needs. Most organizations have like a philanthropic component to them. So just seeing like, how can we help this city? What can we do for the community while I'm here?
I love that. And I give you all the kudos in the world, because going through what you went through for something that lasted as long as it did with Nassar, you have managed to just figure out the good in the world and try to support it. And there are not a lot of people that would be able to do that, honestly. It's hard, because I'm sure that there was a lot of anger that you felt, a lot of resentment, as you said before, like questioning every friendship, every relationship, because what had been so important was, they're very neglectful to you. So no, I commend you for that, because it shows what a good person you are. And no, I just, your story is amazing. And I know that there's a lot more to it. And you keep on smiling, and that's the important thing. And I'm sure you've laughed a lot, cried too, but probably laughed a lot of the way. And I know for me, like, it's all about like where, as terrible as it may get, finding the humor, like even if it's a little bit, is so important, to move on.
Absolutely. Look for the good, find the lesson, and pass it on. That's what life is about.
I love that. And on that note, I just want to thank you, Bree, for being on Gut Punch, and we look forward to you on again next season.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, it was my pleasure. All right, take care, everybody.
That's it for today's episode of Gut Punch. I hope you found inspiration, because no matter how hard life hits, there's always a way forward. Make sure to follow or subscribe to Gut Punch on your favorite podcast platform. If you know someone who could use a little inspiration, share this episode with them. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay strong. See you in the next episode.